Welcome. I'm Pia Larson and I own Fingerprint Marketing. We're a digital agency in outside Seattle. And my goal today is to make you smarter, make you more aware of what's going on behind the scenes at Google. I'm a Google fangirl, and there's some major changes that have happened with their algorithm that's going to affect how you show up as a business in search. So whether you have an SEO person, search engine optimization person who is, helping you with this, or you're a DIY person, or you have a VA doing it, you're going to get some great content today. You're going to be more aware of what's critical and then how to fix it or what to look for. So let's get started. Any housekeeping before we move on, Steve?
Pretty much just what you said, which is if you have a question, put it in the Q&A section. Regular comments, put it right into the chat. And we will get to Q&A at the end and stay on with your questions as long as we need to. Well, not that long, but up until the top of the hour at the very least.
Yeah. So what we're going to cover. So we're going to cover the reasons why you can't ignore search engine optimization for marketing anymore. People are, most of our clients are really overwhelmed with optimizing their website for search because they think it's expensive. They think it takes too much time. There's all sorts of reasons. But before we actually go on, do you have the poll ready, Steve? I'd love to know get a temperature of the audience, where people are in their comfortability with search engine optimization. So are you a beginner, intermediate, advanced, or no clue? Oh, good. We have a good balance of a little bit of everything. So, okay. So for those advanced people, I'm not like the be all end all in SEO. So if I share something that you don't agree with, I would love to hear your opinion. Let's see. Okay, great. So it looks like 36% beginner, 34 intermediate, 14 advanced, and then 15 no clue. So just for those who said no clue, search engine SEO is search engine optimization. It's the way that Google interprets your whole website and the experience in order to serve you up on page one when people are searching for what you sell and what you do. So in a nutshell. So I'm going to reduce that. The second thing we're going to go over is what are these big changes that have come out in May? Why is this one Google update the biggest and most important one? Just FYI, they come out with like dozens, like maybe 42 plus changes to their algorithm, how they present you in the search results every year. And most of them, you're not aware of them. Some of them are big, but this is the biggest one that we've had in a while. And then I'm going to give you some clear actions for getting found online with better content. So however you create that content, whether it's video, written, however you create the content is still king. So let's see, let's move to, okay. So the reason why I can do this webinar for Steve and BNI is I consider myself a chief imagination officer here at the Fingerprint Marketing Agency. And I also am a self-professed marketing crash test dummy, which means I do all the hard work so you don't have to. So I eat, drink, sleep, everything marketing. I've been in the business for 25 years. I've had the business for 14. I've had 3 other businesses. So looking at marketing from a business perspective and from a sales perspective. BNI member for 13 years. I can't believe that, Steve. That's insane.
It goes fast, doesn't it?
It does go fast, and I still am in love with it. So keynote speaker and, of course, a Google fangirl. I love everything Google. It's just interesting to me. Like, I don't always agree with what they do, but so imagine that your business website is a patient in a hospital. Okay. And it's not passing the tests that you're getting from the nurse, or worse, it's just dead. Like there's no more vitals. Your business will disappear. It'll stagnate. because there's so many people online. We're going to check the vitals of your website. They're just, what that means is that Google is checking a list of vitals that you can pass to determine the health of the website, page experience, which I'm going to talk about page experience a lot because that's the number one key takeaway is how do people use your website? And then rankings, when I talk about rankings, it means am I on page one? And am I like at the bottom of the page, top of the page? Like, where do I stand? So we're going to talk about how fast your site loads. So the minute people tap on the URL, the design across different devices, how safe and secure your website is, how easy is it to use? Like, are there delays? Are there glitches? Is it stable? I don't know if you guys have ever pulled up a website and it feels kind of wonky, like maybe it's your Wi-Fi, but it's not. And then the presence of pop-ups and blocking content and so forth. So if you don't take vitals, especially this year, 2001, 2022, if you don't take these vitals of your website, here's what you may experience. Loss of visibility. You won't show up on search. You won't get any traffic to your website, which translates into no sales. Decreased content. Can't see the rest of that on here. So I'm just going to
lower brand awareness.
Yeah. And lower brand awareness. So you essentially become invisible. And then again, just a reminder, I wanted to, if you have questions, put it in the Q&A, not the chat. So last year, Google gave us a hint or a heads up that they were going to add some new vitals. So a new checklist to their, how you show up in search. And they said they were going to roll it out slowly. Well, this past May, they rolled it out. So it's here. It's not in the future. So we're going to go over each of these things to measure on your website. And I hope I'm not going too fast. Am I going too fast for anyone? No? Okay.
I think we're just gearing up. This is where the good stuff comes.
Okay. So here's where you guys get smart. Okay. So some of this stuff is I've been preaching for years and it's nothing new. It's just a friendly reminder that 80% of people are going to see your website first on their mobile phone. We all know why, because we're all on our phones majority of the time. So we want to make sure that your site passes the Google mobile friendly test, and we'll have the deck for them after the presentation, right, Steve?
Yep. We'll be able to share it either through email or upload it to BNI Business Builder.
Yeah, because I have homework for them, and then you can just go through each slide and perform these tests. So basically, Google has said that they are going to, when someone types in a search, let's say interior designers near me, anyone that hasn't passed this test will not be included in that result. So you may be included at some point, but that'll be like page 2 or 3. So that's not good because you might as well be invisible, right? So you want to be considered in that, the search results for a mobile friendly page. Now, I'm not going to go into how to make your your page mobile friendly, but if you need help with that, we can definitely help you. Oops, let me go back. Hold on. Just so you guys know, I did this deck at like, dark 100 hours. So, safe browsing. Okay. So that, okay.
There it is.
There it is. I'm like, stop.
Made it.
Yeah. So safe browsing is essentially, you want to make sure that you don't have any malware. Well, a lot of people are like, well, how do I know? Well, you can run malware tests. There's some free tools out there. A lot of time hackers are smart these days. So even if you can't see anything obvious, even if you go through every page, they're good at hiding it. And guess who finds the malware? Your potential clients. it's so embarrassing when people email me and say, did you know that you have like an X-rated link on your, one of your blog posts? It's like, oh my God, it's very embarrassing. The other thing too is make sure that you're not cutting and pasting directly copyrighted text or any kind of false or misleading content. False and misleading, you could describe that anyway, but you want to make sure that what the content you're presenting is something that you're experienced with, or that you've checked your facts and all that, which is, we all know, is very important in today's world. No fake websites. What's next? Okay. So when you go up to the browser bar right here, this is where the browser bar is. If you don't see an S behind the HTTP, that means that you don't have what they call a security certificate installed on your website. And what does that mean? That means if someone is on Chrome and they go to your website and you're missing this security, they're going to get this big red page that says deceptive site ahead. Not exactly the best experience for people who are trying to, get to your website, or this is their first introduction. So it's a simple fix. Just call your hosting company and tell them you want to purchase a certificate. It's usually like $60 a year. But not only purchase, you have to actually tell them, can you please install it on my site? A lot of times people will buy it and then it doesn't get installed. So that defeats the purpose. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. So the fancy word for pop-ups is intrusive I can't even say it. Pop-ups. We're all familiar with pop-ups. Some people hate them. Some people don't. And I will tell you this, they work 30%. It converts people 30% higher than anything else you're going to do on your website. Surprisingly, as annoying as they are, they actually convert. So from a sales perspective, a business perspective, I'm not telling you to get rid of them. However, Google has some guidelines. So one of them is when you first get to a website and the first thing that comes is a pop-up, like it's hiding the actual homepage behind here. It's kind of like asking for marriage on the first date. So it's like, you want to get my email before I even know that I want to, go deeper with this company or research it or whatever. That's going to indicate to Google that this is not a good experience. The second one is where it takes over the page. I don't know, Steve, if you've seen this, where you go to a page and it's just the whole thing. Yeah. It just takes over. You want to avoid those. And then some of the other things are, if you can't close the pop-up, that's annoying. They do say that they are fine with the pop-ups that have to verify your age or verify privacy policies. So those they don't really discount or not. But these are the ones that they tell you to watch out for. So what I do, Steve, on my website is I use what's called an exit pop-up. So an exit pop-up is just like the name. You only get the pop-up when you either move your mouse to open up another tab, as I'm doing here, or you're not looking at it for quite a long time. It's kind of a last minute, like, oh, wait, before you go, sign up for my newsletter or sign up for this checklist or something like that. So it's called an exit pop-up. Really easy. I use Hello Bar. There's several tools out there that are inexpensive. Okay, let me make sure that we got all these. Again, I told you, yep, we're good. Okay. Let's see where we're at. Okay. So the core web vitals is a fancy way of saying that these are the new checklists that Google uses to make sure that they want to present you in search results. They rolled out in May, and they are metrics that Google will use to figure out whether it's a good experience. So the bottom line is they want a good experience for your prospects using your website. And we're going to dive into what that includes. So this is what they include. Now, don't freak out because it's, the verbiage is very technical, but we'll go through each one of these. I just wanted to let you know, you can definitely do this yourself. Some of this stuff is a little bit more advanced, and you might want to consider, you can go to Upwork and get a tech guy, or you can ask your webmaster, or you can hire us. I mean, there's different solutions. So first, what you want to do is to test your website based on these new metrics. This is the URL that I recommend, and it will spit out a report card that looks like something like this, just so you can see that. The second thing that you're going to want to do is set up Google Search Console, which you should have anyway. So Google Search Console allows you to measure 1 million different KPIs and metrics on your website. But now they also have the core web vitals. So on the left-hand side, I don't have this open, but on the left-hand side on the console, there's something called enhancements. And you can open that and you can see, they tell you exactly how you can fix things on the vitals if you don't get a green light. So they score you on good, needs improvement, poor ranges. And then as soon as you fix something, you can run the test again and do small updates and changes. If anyone,
how does this work in terms of, like, is it part of analytics, or is it its own part of your website?
It goes hand in hand with analytics. It's let me check something. So if you just Google console, Search Console, and then set it up for your website. It's not in Google Analytics. It's a separate tool. Yeah.
Great.
And we can actually do a whole webinar going over console. It's got a ton of great metrics. So LCP, essentially this means how long does it take for the page to load for an actual user? This is similar to site speed, like we talked about before, but it's on a deeper level. Google considers this the most important thing. So if you have a website that is taking longer than 3 seconds, yes, I said 3 seconds, they're going to score you badly. So it's incredible how fast. Now, of course, this doesn't pertain to outside the US because there's different, load times depending on where you are. But in the US, that's their metric. So this, again, is the report card. So you definitely want to get in the good column. And these are the metrics. So actually, this is less than 2.5 seconds. If you can get 3, I know, right? If you can get 3, you're doing really well. So, and then once you get these scores, you're going to get a task list of how to improve these scores. So a little bit at a time. Told you there's going to be a lot of homework here. So you can check your speed by going to this webpage test. And a couple of just really quick things that either you can do, your webmaster, your VA, is to reduce the number of plugins. So most of our clients use WordPress. So WordPress works with plugins, which are just kind of little pieces of code. And, they allow you to expand the features on your website, but they can also bog down the how fast your site will load. Any third-party scripts, chatbots are really bad for this. Chatbots. The funny thing is Google Analytics, when you attach it, actually slows your website down, which don't ask me why. But trying to think what else.
What about things like, if you've got like a video that's a big file, or photos that are not, optimized?
Yeah, so that's a good one. So the next tip is optimizing the size of your image. So many people just kind of embed their images without a second thought. You want to reduce the size of the images. I can't give you a standard, but at least under 500 megabytes. But it depends on how big you want the web page to be. Like if it's your whole hero image at the top of your homepage, that's different than just a little blog post featured image, right?
Right.
So you want to check those. And then video, that's a great tip as well. You never want to embed the raw video into your website because that'll destroy your load time. You want to host it on Vimeo or YouTube and then embed that link. And with WordPress, it's super easy. You can ask your webmaster, your VA to do that. Get a better hosting company. I have a whole article on this. So hosting companies, people don't give a second thought to of how it affects your website, but it's probably one of the most important choices that you make when you're starting a website or on your current website. I won't name names, but there's one big giant hosting company that we detest because they're horrible. They start with a G, so you guys can guess who that is.
Good work.
So don't buy cheap hosting. And the reason why they're so big is because they're really good at selling poor quality hosting for, $10 a month or whatever. It's worth it to really increase your value in your hosting company. And then set up lazy loading. Lazy loading is just a term used for WordPress so when someone's scrolling, they will slowly load your images only when they scroll. So like if they're at the top of the page, the images won't show up until they start scrolling. So just there's hundreds of more things that you can do. So, okay. Interactivity. Again, this is a Core Web Vital update. So essentially the time it takes for a user to actually interact with your page. What does that look like? For example, I come to a web page and how long does it take me to click on a link in the menu? How long does it take me to enter my email into a field? How long does it take me to, if you're on mobile, you'll see the hamburger menu rather than the navigation that goes across the screen. How long does it take me to click that? Google is looking for people to land on your website and take action immediately. So they're looking for these clues. Why are people slow in clicking and taking action? It's because they're confused. They're lost. They don't know what to do first, second, third, or they can't find what they need. So you really want to look at your website on desktop and mobile and see how easy it is for visitors to perform tasks. So initial tasks. So when they get there, what's the first thing you want them to do and how easy is it? Is the call to action on every single page. So no matter where they land on your website, they can do this. And then how easy is it to use your website? So, a lot of people want to put everything on their website, the kitchen sink, but you only have really 3 seconds to catch my attention. So just pick one thing to begin with. You can use heat mapping tools, which are really cool to see how people are using your website. And you can ask people just to say, hey, can you use my website and give me a report back? Visual stability. I mentioned this in the beginning. It's essentially, if you load a website and then all of a sudden it shifts, or if you're on mobile and all of a sudden it's desktop version and then goes to mobile and you can see that shift, you want to make sure that is not happening. And unfortunately, this is a little bit more advanced. So you want to tap your webmaster or your developer or your help desk. Steve, do you have any questions for me while we're moving on?
Yeah, there are a few questions in Q&A here. What should I do for SEO? My business is a network marketing business model, so the company has control over her website.
That is a good question. I would ask the corporate office, if they have metrics in place, if they have been looking at this, because it will affect your website. I don't know if network marketers are allowed to have geographical landing pages that are branded for the company, but yet they can control just the landing page and optimize that, say for Seattle or Boston, plus your keyword. But that would be one way that you could address it. But I definitely would ask corporate, what they're doing for core web vitals and making sure that they pass the test.
Yeah, I think it depends on the business, because I know some of them have a lot of flexibility and others are pretty much locked into what they give you.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions?
Yeah. Let's see. So Ty's asking, what tools do you like to use to take the vitals?
Well, the tool is just a website, and it is on the deck. So when you download the deck, you'll see it, and you can click on it, and it'll give you it's called Web Dev Test. So you'll have that link.
Great. Sharon's asking, do chatbots count as intrusive pop-ups?
They don't, because, well, let me back up. They could, if you position them right in the middle of the page, but typically you want to install them so they show up in the bottom right, or they slide in. That's typically how you want your chatbot to show up anyway, because you never want the chatbot to cover anything. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Kevin is asking about e-commerce. What about a store? Will that slow down a site?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
If you've got a store, on your website, is that?
Yeah, so that is critical, because Amazon did a test several years ago. They measured their conversions based on how many seconds it took to load their site, and they have millions of products, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it was 350% less conversions for every second. So if you multiply 350% of the value of all their products, that's a big loss. So even a second or half a second off the load speed is going to affect your scores. If you have an e-commerce site, I would encourage you to go through each product and optimize the images. Watch out for plugins. So little additional things that pieces of software that e-commerce websites will add, like, ratings plugin, or a sharing plugin, or people who bought this plugin. I'm not saying you can't have these. I'm just saying, don't go crazy. Don't download 25 different e-commerce plugins.
Yeah. I mean, for plugins, is there kind of like a recommended number not to exceed, like 5 or 10 or 20?
That's a hard question, because each plugin is created by an open source developer. Some of them are premium, meaning you paid a little bit of money to keep them current and updated. Some of them are free, and they just don't get attention, so they degrade over time. So, you could have 20 premium plugins that are kept working really well, or 10 really poor plugins. So I guess the answer would be ask your webmaster. If you don't have a webmaster, look at the plugins, opt for more premium plugins where you pay like $10 to $60 a year, or err on the side of maybe 15 or less plugins.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, if you go to your plugins page in WordPress, if you have to start scrolling to see them all, you've probably got too many plugins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Any other questions before we move on?
We've got a couple in the chat here. Let's see. Is there a way to know the load time on each specific page on your site? Is that reported out?
That question stumps me. There should be. I don't have an exact answer to that, but I will get that answer to Steve and he can include it in the email. That's a really good question.
Is there a way to, oh wait, we have that one. Hold on. My chat is moving. Oh, if GoDaddy is bad, not that you said that.
I didn't say anything about GoDaddy.
No. What is one you might recommend?
Well, you can get hosting through Fingerprint Marketing. Also Cloudways is really good. That's basically, we have an agency account with them. Mm-hmm. If you look at places like Bluehost, etc., they are actually all owned by GoDaddy. So even if they're a separate brand, you want to make sure they're not under that umbrella. So, yeah. But you didn't hear me say that. That's just my opinion.
Okay. All right. I think we're ready to move on now.
All right. So aside from, it's not aside from, it's part of how visitors to your website experience your website. And one of the core things, aside from optimizing your website for search engine for keywords and for site speed, content is still king. In order to get ranked in 2021 and beyond, you want to make good content, and make good content. And you're probably all collective sigh going, I don't want to make good content, or I don't have time, or I don't have the money. Unfortunately, that's not a choice anymore. Sorry to say. You really need to change your mindset around being a media company. We're all media companies. We're all producing content, whether that's video, blogs, webinars, podcasts are huge. Just FYI, I know Steve knows this, but FYI, podcasts are now indexable. So when you are searching for keywords, potentially you'll come up either on a guest podcast or your own podcast. Mm-hmm. So this is all types of content. And the reason why is that the most expensive keywords go to buyers. So when someone goes to Facebook, they're being social, they're catching up with their friends and so forth. When someone's on LinkedIn, they're either looking for a job or they're looking to make connections. But when someone does a search on Google, they have what we call buyer intent. They're ready to open their wallet. They're ready to do business with you. Are you on the first page? So that's why content will prep and prime your potential customers to get them to the point where they're like, oh yeah, this is a no-brainer. Like, I want to sign up for Steve's service. Steve, what's your service again? You're a copywriter?
I am a copywriter.
Yeah.
I didn't say that, by the way. I don't want to self-promote or anything, but yeah, everything you said is correct, but yeah.
Yeah. So you can get behind this, right? You understand the value of, how this works. So you, creating good content is not just checking a box and saying, oh, I blogged today, or I blogged this week, or I created a video, or, marketing checklist. It's really, you're educating your prospects on what they need to know about your industry, your product, your service, and also why you're all that in a bag of fries, right? So that way, when they're on page one, because there's something called zero page search results now, which means that people can actually get their answers on the search results. They don't even have to go to your website anymore. So, which is really scary for business owners, because if we don't get traffic, how are we going to get leads and how are we going to stay in business? Well, part of that is good content. So one tool that I love to use, it's a free tool that's called Uber Suggest. If you're kind of like, well, I don't know what to write or what to talk about, they have a phenomenal tool that will allow you to see what people are searching, but not only that, but what are your competitors getting high rankings for? And it'll actually show you the topics. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you're not trying to write something for like Wikipedia, like what is beard oil? You're trying to write something that will educate a buyer. So What is better, balm or beard oil? I don't have a beard. I don't know why I have this example, but it just came up in my head. So for those with beards, it's like, so I'm hoping you see the difference between, you know, a Wikipedia style article video versus beard oil, versus, you know, like a comparison. So, let's see. Okay. So any questions on that one? Because that's a big one.
No, I will tell you though, I am getting a lot of referrals lately from web designers who normally in the past did not. They would just say, just write your own content, but now they're telling their clients to create content that works because it's gonna, you know, it's gonna sync the site. No one's gonna go to it if they don't have everything in place. And, you know, I was contacted by a very large company to do just their about page.
Yeah.
Because they had a very small about page. And what we're finding is your about page is got so much good content and links and photos and things on it that it can really help you in SEO.
Yeah. So Steve, you and I can actually do a content webinar that would be really helpful too. I will say a couple things about what you just said. The about page is the second most visited web page on your website. Mm-hmm. And the second thing I'll say about the about page, which some of you probably already know, is it's not about you. It's not about how many degrees you have, how many awards, how long you've been in business. That comes at the bottom of the page. The top of the page is, how will you help me solve my problem? It's really a weird concept for people to wrap their head around. Mm-hmm. The third thing I'll say is that I insist that people get a copywriter or hire us to copyright or go to Steve, because copywriting on a website is sales copy. It's not regular copy, and it's very hard to write for sales. So I'll just say that. But the kind of content that I'm talking about specifically is more like blogs, video, podcasts, that kind of stuff that you can easily create.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, well, how long should the content be? So the articles that are getting listed the most are 2,000 plus words. So I know that is a lot, but think of it as a pillar. So you have like maybe 3 pillars of content topics. Like for instance, ours is, you know, done for you marketing, web design, and web maintenance. So then we're going to create really in-depth articles about those 3 buckets. And then in that one article, we're going to link out to smaller articles, but you have to have some really good, complete and in-depth pages or blog posts that are at least 2,000 words that people can link out to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's important because even if you're doing it yourself, you can do this just by, if you're doing a blog post, you're just telling stories rather than just talking about what you offer. A lot of people get stuck after the first paragraph, but you know what? Make it relatable and change it up a little bit. And, you know, I know that Google reacts to your website just by adding content, just by refreshing on a regular basis.
Yeah, because it'll tell them to go out and re-index it. Right. The other thing that the data shows is that a page with 200 pages, a website with 200 pages versus 50 is going to rank higher. Mm-hmm. Now, don't freak out. I mean, I have 3,000 pages on my website, but that's because I've been in business for 14 years. But I didn't do them all at once. So just take bite-sized, you know, tasks and, you know, put something once a week, once a month, as long as it's consistent. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're going for. But yes, larger sites, whether you're small, solopreneur or not, are going to do better in the search.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't know that a blog post indexes as its own page.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so also best practices include images. So in your blogs, in your videos, you know, include a thumbnail, include an image. The data also shows that you want to have an image for every 300 words. That sounds like a lot, but I'm just quoting the data from Google. They prefer that because it helps with engagement. Again, we're going back to the experience that a new visitor is having on your page. And this is the data they've come up with. A better experience is had when there are more images to break up the text in your blog, video, whatever it is, to keep people engaged. That's what they're going for. They're going for engagement. Just like Facebook, you get rewarded for engagement. You don't get rewarded for just posting content.
Right.
But make sure those images are optimized. Expand your Rockstar pages. Your Rockstar pages are the ones that if you set up Google Console, it'll show you which pages are doing the best. So here's a snapshot from a test that I ran on my website. And you can see that this web maintenance page gets more clicks than any other page on my website out of all 3,000 pages. So what you want to do is you want to find your highest ranking pages and you want to create supporting content. So what do I mean by that? So website maintenance, I can write an article about how much website maintenance should cost, what should be included in website maintenance. Can I do website maintenance on my own? So these are just subtopics that you can link out from this Rockstar page that's going to increase your, what I call Google juice. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep. So it supports the pillar content with related keywords. Ooh, we're almost done, you guys. Hopefully this has been helpful.
Yeah, this is great. I've got some things I need to change. So
yeah, we should talk, huh?
Yeah.
So in 2021, Google has stated that they are putting a lot of emphasis on getting found for your brand name. So there's two ways you can get found on Google. You can get found through keywords, so website maintenance Seattle, or you can get found by people typing in fingerprint marketing or your name, Pia Larson. So what that means is you want to continue to build your brand presence. So in 2021, 75% of all users were basing their opinions on your brand by how easy it is for them to use your site. So that's a big percentage. So is your brand supporting, your target audience? Are you using content that sells? Is it technically stable? Is the branding consistent throughout your social media and all your online platforms? So they're basically saying, get your name out there. So obviously you're not going to be like a Nike or, big brand that has a lot of money, deep pockets. But if you're going after local business, this is huge, right? You can create. So some of the tips I have is creating video. So personalize your brand, be bold, have an opinion. Okay. Even if it's controversial, if you are going after a specific type of audience and you know what their pain points are, be bold about it, be talking directly to them and have a unique point of view. Clean up your house, Steve.
I did. I tidied up.
So clean up your website. Make sure that users, when I say users, potential clients, are getting the answers really quickly. When they come to your website, they have tons of questions. How much do you cost? Can you fix my problem? How do you fix my problem? Is there a certain unique process? How long will it take? These are all typical questions that as a consumer we have already. So we pretty much already know what the questions are, but then get specific about your industry, right? If it's a product industry, if it's an e-commerce store, can I get a discount on it? Or, will it work with this product or so forth? So look at the structure, look at the navigation, make sure that it's crystal clear. If you guys want me to look at it, that is my superpower, is going on a website. And within 30 seconds, I can tell you if it's going to delight your customers or not. So happy to do that for you. If you guys are interested in chatting more, go ahead and book a call. You just go to fingerprintmarketing.com/get a quote with dashes. And we'll do a free consultation, 30-minute consultation. And I can take questions if we have any more.
Yeah, we've got a bunch more. All right. Let's see. When it comes to having video on your website, does YouTube video links embed in your site, making the load time slower? If you've, I'm sorry, embed. All right. So if you've already got one with a YouTube link in your site, is that going to slow it down?
No, because you're going to use a plugin to embed it.
Okay.
So no, because it's just a link. So essentially what happens is you're calling on the video from YouTube and they're hosting it. So you're just connecting the link.
Great. Okay. So Aaron, very smart question. Do you get bonus points if you leave a Google review or advertise your Google reviews on your site?
Good question. I don't have a definitive answer to that, but I will say that it converts visitors really well if you have Google reviews on there. I wouldn't ask for a Google review that way because people think about it. Most people that are coming to your website don't know you yet. They have to get to know you first. So you're asking before you're giving, right? So I would just you can put like the badge. If you have, let's say 20, 25 reviews, you can put the badge in the footer of how many reviews. There are plugins or embeddable widgets that update that count every time someone leaves a review. Good question.
What's the second? Oh, all right. On the beard oil slide, what is the second beard oil in there for?
So I wanted to show you the difference in type of content. So there would be like, what is beard oil, right? And that would be more of an informational page of, not saying you can't have it, but it's not going to rank as well because you're competing with Wikipedia and bigger content sites versus doing a comparison of beard oil versus beard balm, or comparing different brands, or doing a comparison.
Okay, what do you think the biggest myth is with SEO?
Wow.
That's a good one.
That is a great one. I would have to say, from my personal dealings with clients, is that it doesn't work, that it's a waste of money, waste of time. It is number one, should be on your list of marketing to do in the next few years. It's not going away. It's going to get harder, but you are going to be smarter about it. And especially for local businesses, I can't stress this enough. If you're a local business, you have some advantages. You can do Google My Business. You can create content. There's so much you can do to get on the first page. And we specialize in doing that. So we can help you. I will say that 60% of my cold leads come from Google search.
Okay. Would you say a combination of personal content that you did yourself and professional content would be the best way to ensure quality?
If you're a good writer and you have a tone of voice that is that ties in with the professional writers, then that's great. Yeah, because then you can create more content.
Right. Yeah, I'll tell you, there is a difference between being a good writer and being able to write for the web. But when it comes to things like blog posts, social media stuff, that's very conversational.
Yeah.
And you can do a lot of that stuff yourself.
Yeah. And you can be conversational in blog posts. I prefer that people bring out their personality. Just don't forget to answer people's questions. There's a great book that I recommend and buy for all my clients. And it's by Marcus Sheridan. And it's called They Ask You Answer. It's a simple concept. Get that book. It's really good.
All right. Let's see. Is it a bidding war to get on the first page?
Is it a bidding war? Assuming you're talking about pay-per-click, like paid advertisement, it is. And it's more expensive the more competitive the industry is. It's like personal injury attorney and so forth.
You know, one of the things that I love about blog posts, and I get found on blog posts a lot on some of the sites that I write for, because there's so much competition out there. And people don't always say, you know, I'm looking for, you know, a dentist. They're looking for a specific problem, right? Extraction or, you know, a bridge or whatever, a crown or whatever they do.
Yeah.
And they may find it through a blog post. And that sometimes gets around people who are just saying, I am the dentist in this town.
Yeah. A good example is I have several people that come to me and say, I found you from your Pillar article about what a web maintenance plan looks like, or why do I need it? Because I went really deep with the article and the page, and I answered every possible secondary question that comes up after that.
Yeah. And so this leads to this next question from Aaron. It says, for content, is there a threshold of too much? I've heard that your website should be concise and to the point with a call to action.
So you're asking if the content could be too long, maybe too long-winded. So.
Yeah.
Gosh, I guess so. You just want to go back to asking yourself, did I answer the question in the deepest way possible? Yeah,
I would say, you know, when you are creating long form content on a web page, have little breaks along the way. Call to
absolutely.
Action. You know, you want to go to the top and do the TLDR, right? Just here's the basics of it, and here's a call to action. You can immediately do that, and then you can continue. Some people prefer longer reads, especially people who are very careful about making decisions about what they want to buy and how they want to do it. If it's a very expensive thing like a house or a motorcycle, they don't want to read more and more content, as opposed to someone who just kind of wants to get the basic info.
Yep, absolutely. Just looking up an article here. Any other questions?
Yeah. All right. So we have a lot of requests in the chat and here about content. And I think you and I should team up and do one.
I think we should.
Because that's going to be another hour. We've only got 6 minutes left. So people are asking about getting this recorded link. I think it makes sense at this point for me to pull the list of everyone who registered for this, because I know that a lot of people today are in training for leadership team.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do everybody who registered for this, whether they were on or not, and send out this info with a link to watch this video. So you'll be able to see everything and get the content with the PowerPoint, because there's really good stuff in here, and there's links within PowerPoint that you can click on.
Yeah, absolutely. And feel free to email me if you have any follow-up questions. It's pia@fingerprintmarketing.com. I'm always happy to answer questions. I love teaching and helping small businesses.
All right. So lightning round for the last few questions.
Okay.
As far as GMB, sounds like Google My Business to me. Any suggestions as far as content?
Yeah, watch the webinar that Steve and I did on Google My Business.
That's actually a good point. I'll include the link to that Google My Business one, because there was really great content.
Yeah, that was a really good one. And it's something, if you have no time or money, I would recommend optimizing your Google My Business first and foremost. It will change your conversions. It'll increase your traffic. It's amazing.
Excellent. Okay. We have a question on newsletters. What's more bang for the buck, writing as a blog and then posting the whole newsletter to the website, or writing blogs and using links to them in the newsletter? Or something else she hasn't thought of?
I would, first of all, don't call it newsletter, because no one wants to subscribe to a newsletter anymore. I would, so like an e-news, e-blast, something like that. I would have links in your e-news that you send out to your blog. There's some schools of thought whether to put the whole article in the email or, and on the website, but I defer to the website. It's more powerful there.
Okay, great. Let's see. Would you say, we did that one already. There we go. Lucinda's asking, what is considered good content? That is a whole other story.
Stay tuned for Steve and I in our new webinar in October.
That's a biggie.
Yeah.
That's a biggie.
It's a great question, though. What is good content? There's our webinar title. It's
I'll tell you what,
good question.
if you and I today can figure out a date that works for both of us, we'll put that also in this giant email that I'm sending out to everybody.
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's not as hard as you think it will be.
Yeah,
but it's super important.
Right. Okay, and the last two questions are about getting links to the webinar. So again, we will put it on BNI Business Builder. We'll also have it on our BNI Team USA YouTube channel, and you're going to get an email with all this stuff. So you will
Awesome.
bound
Thanks,
to
you
find
guys. This has been fun. I really appreciate your showing up and being curious, and always here to help.
Yeah, I want to thank Pia, especially because she's been busy and she's got a lot going on, and almost didn't make it here, but she did, because she is a trooper. And we appreciate that. And I knew the response would be really great for this one. So
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And again, Pia, your email is?
Pia, P-I-A, at fingerprintmarketing.com.
All right, that's great. So
Okay.
Thanks everybody for being on today, and we will see you next week.
All right. Bye, guys.
Take care.